How's everyone doing today? My name is Mr. Charles, and this is the Upbeat Academy online lessons. This has been MIDI week. The first day we talked about setting up our MIDI keyboard, getting it to function, and then using only MIDI clips that we played on here to create something. Our last lesson, we elaborated on that. We used audio clips and then assigned these to launch the audio clips. And today what we're going to do is bring it all together. Today is our mesh day of MIDI. We're going to talk a little bit more about how we can utilize those MIDI clips as well as those audio clips together, launching them, setting up those scenes, and then creating something that we can manipulate on the fly. So let's start out with something. Today, I feel like I'm going to go back to our original style. I'm going to bring together two styles of music. We're going to do something in 135. Turn off this loop button. And what I want to do is I want to remember the simpler. We're going to use that simpler again. So I'm going to go to my instruments, bring in my simpler. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go into my splice folder. And I'm going to go into my sounds. See if I have any sounds that we can chop up and use. All right. I think these are bass lines. That's pretty fire, but let's do something that's not a bass line to start out with. So let's find something nice. Okay. Let's see, tonal. This is nice. Let's see about that. All right. And then let's arm our track. So I'm playing those keys now, right? Yeah, all right. So it's not warped. Let me turn that warp on. And I'm going to play a little melody. Let's play something. All right, let's use that. I'm going to shorten this to 8 bars. And remember, we're just using the MIDI keyboard to trigger stuff in our simpler. Turn off this click. All right. And we're going to go into our audio effects and use some more audio effects. I want to use the filter. I want to use my coarse. All right. And then for my filter, I'm going to use that MIDI button. I'm going to mess around with this. Is the frequency, of that low pass filter that we have here. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in an 808, and I feel like I'm actually going to use, let's see, go into this Upbeat Academy folder, see if we can find a nice 808. All right, change this. All right. so far so good, right? I'm doing this a little differently. You know, I usually like to do those. All right. I usually do the drums first, but what I wanted to do today was do that bass. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that saturator on, and then we did this in the earlier lessons. It's going to fatten up my 808 a little bit. Turn the drive up on that. All right. So now we're going to see if I can get this note repeat button to work. And I'm going to continue to build with this trap kit. Today I'm going to use this ends kit. And I'm going to see if I can trigger some hi-hats. So I can't quite get this to work. Typically, you'll have, if you have a MIDI controller where you have the note repeat button, you can just draw in a hi-hat pattern. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my MIDI clip to build a nice hi-hat pattern. Let's see how this sounds. That's not quite it. It's not quite it. So let's try something. I want something that sounds a little bit more natural than this. Nice. Okay, so we're just continuing along, building upon this. So I'm going back down. All right, let's find a clap and a snare. So I'm going to just play this clap out. And there's going to be a little bit more swing. It's going to be like our other boom bap stuff, but still have that trap feel, because I'm not going to quantize this hat. I'm not going to quantize this at all. I just want this to just live and be where it's supposed to be. Duplicate this, layer this with a snare. Let's play that. All right. All right. So now we're going to just add some percussion. Yeah. So I'm adding a little of this background percussion, and if you notice, every time I press that pause button on my keyboard, it's automatically going to loop it to the nearest bar. So it's automatically looping this 8-bar sequence that I'm doing. All right. So now what I'm going to do from here, you guessed it, kick time. So the kick. Yeah, I'm just going to have some fun with it. So for this, I'm actually going to quantize these kicks. I'm going to put this on a 16th grid. Perfect. Perfect. All right. So now what I would like to do is I'm actually going to take out my keys that I did on this, and now I'm going to start adding in some audio loops. So let's add in some audio loops. What can we do? We can add some percussion to this. It's a nice little all right, it's got a nice little bounce to it. And notice what we're doing now. This is very simple, and I was hoping that we get to the end of this lesson and you'd be able to understand that we're not doing anything complex, right? After this week, we're going to dive into level 2, into that intermediate, where we start getting into that stylistic changes and using everything together. This really is simple compositions of loops, then using audio loops to enhance what we've played, right? You know, the mixing isn't immaculate. My kick is a little too loud. But we feel good about it, right? Because at the end of the day, what we want to have is something with some feeling, something that we can. All right, so we're at 8 channels. We can have 16 in standard, so I'm gonna go for a couple of more things. I liked what I played, but I wanted to see if I could find a different type of melody, something that would be a little bit more interesting. So I have a couple of things that I want to try out. All right, let's try this B minor. And I'm going to take out my 808. We're going to go replay this. So we're using that bounce, and we're able to make something that's really unique. Let's see if we can put some stuff together using this B minor. Let's see if we can put together. All right, it's not really it. Not really it. It's kind of weird, but I want something that's just interesting to go behind this. All right, that's something interesting. We can just throw in the background to beef up our melody. my little progression. Somebody. All right, so something really cool. I'm going to show y'all something really cool. In the MIDI effects, there's a scale, and this is in every version of Ableton. There's a scale function where you can dial in what scale you want to play. These loops are in B minor, right? So I can dial in B minor, and then on my MIDI keyboard, if you'll notice, it's not going to let me hit something that's not in the B minor scale. So those little blue notes are what's in the B minor scale. So now what I can do is play a little lead on top of this. I can choose an instrument, and as long as it's tuned if it's tuned in C, then I can go from this and really work my way on the keyboard and play something interesting. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to delete my 808, and I'm going to get an 808 that's in C. Perfect. So now what I can do is I'm going to turn this release up on this. And then I'm actually going to turn the glide on. And now watch what happens when I do this. So it overlaps a little bit. So let's see how this sounds. Let me go up an octave. So this is a little interesting bass line. Alright, and I'm just gonna let that ride like that. So I'm gonna just scoot this to the 8 bar and let's listen to that. Okay. So that saturator back on there. All right. So these keys that I have in here, where is that? I'm gonna put that reverb on there. I'm going to throw my compressor on here, and I'm going to sidechain this to that kick. All right. So I have an instrumental, so let's bump these down here, and let's build this beat out. So I'm going to turn all of these into the 8 sections, right? So I'm going to go just down the line. It's going to be the different sections that I have here. And 8. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these down the line, to the 8. And then I'll be able to trigger these. So I'm going to start certain things. All right. So so I don't want the 808 to be in here. Some of this percussion can go. This kick can go. Let's see how this sounds. And we're going to take this percussive out, take this snare out. Then let's take some of this percussion out. Variations. And I can just play it through, right? All right, so let's record this in. All right. Just counting it out. Yeah, I'm gonna put this metronome on just to make sure I'm on beat. And I can just get funky with those re-triggers in. And if you notice on my screen, it's showing that visual representation. So I was trying to do in that last lesson, but I couldn't figure it quite out. We're just gonna let it ride out. Having fun, you ain't doing it right. Let's bring it back to the top and so one thing I can show you is when you mess up, you can actually fix this very easily. Very easily. All you gotta do is just drag it out. Look at that. Perfect. All right. Well, my name is Mr. Charles. This has been the Upbeat Academy online lessons. I appreciate you for joining me today. Please be well.